So I'm here with Brian McCallister at Ning's headquarters. Brian, could you introduce yourself and Ning to the viewers?
Be very happy to. I'm Brian McCallister. I'm an architect here at Ning, and I'm a member of the Apache Software Foundation, both of which play into Shindig, which we're going to talk about today. Ning is a platform for building a social network for anything. We have about 130,000 social networks running on Ning today, 110,000 or so having been made in just the last 8 months. And they're created for everything ranging from a network for people with diabetes and coping with it to a network for sharing information and stuff about my kid. So that
cool.
is Ning. It is pretty cool.
Cool. So why would I use Ning to create a social network? Why wouldn't I just like hack together WordPress or something or what have you?
Because we have lots of features. We're dedicated to lots of features. So in terms of just like hacking together WordPress, you get a blog. Now it works if that's what you want. So, but if you have a group of people that want to, share something, create a social network, and that could be people from, 10 people to hundreds of thousands of people that are centered around something, where the people creating it want to have control, want to have their own features, want to own the, the presentation, the features that are there, the users, it's your stuff. Go to heck, it's actually your code. It's all open source under the Apache license. You can hack it, go to town with it. And so that's why Ning is a particularly interesting place to do that.
Cool. So if I create a new social network today, and you've already got logins to other Ning social networks, can you automatically get into mine with the same login? Is this like a big network effect, so you don't have to keep asking people to sign up?
So you can use the same login across different networks on Ning, but you don't automatically join any other network on Ning. So you come in, you join Ning, you use your email to sign up, and you're there. So if you go from fussbucket.org, which is my kid's thing, to the 2diabetes.com, then your account is still there. And when you first go to join 2diabetes, you're going to have the basic information that Ning knows about you available, so you don't have to necessarily type it in, but you can create whatever persona, whatever presence you want on that particular network. So it's convenience for the users, but it is definitely you are joining that network that is there. It's not you're not necessarily a Ning user. We just try to help you. You are a user you are a member of whatever social network you're interacting with.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because if I'm asked once again to log into some new cool thing,
it gets old.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool you're doing that. So let's see. So you guys were original founding partners with OpenSocial. What are your thoughts on OpenSocial and how it relates to developers?
So how it relates to developers? Okay, well, two things actually I'm going to take on this. OpenSocial 1 is awesome, and that's like the official view and my personal view. We want to enable lots of features, lots of abilities, every bit of freedom that we can for people creating social networks on Ning. And OpenSocial opens up the doors to a wide range of developers developing for more than just Ning. So for our benefit, it's great. More features, more things people can do with social networks, more freedom for our users. From a developer's point of view, OpenSocial gives you something that can run on any of the 130,000 networks on Ning, on MySpace soon, on Plaxo, on Orchid, on High5. It gives you, I guess the term they use is learn once, write anywhere, but hopefully with the help of Shindig, that'll get much closer to write once, run anywhere, go to town. It's standardizing a development infrastructure, much like Java did for servlet containers and stuff like that, for developing embedded applications on the web.
Cool. So, there's a few APIs out there right now. Are there any other APIs that you would love to see kind of brought into OpenSocial?
So, I think the core of OpenSocial, okay, so let's talk about OpenSocial here just a little bit. OpenSocial right now exposes APIs for finding out, who someone's friends are, dealing with an activity stream, storing data relevant to a user, those kinds of things that are very much common across all the social networking applications. So there's additional things that are specific to a given social networking application or a specific environment or place where running it might make sense. And so I think that probably the right mechanism for that is to let from the bottom up what additions should be come into that API emerge via the extension mechanism that is probably being built into OpenSocial right now. So there are definitely things that should be added. You know, what do I want for Christmas comes to mind. Although that might be better to build an OpenSocial application than into the API. So it may be added, but I can't predict what those are. I have no idea what those are. Everyone out there will figure that out and they'll merge, and what people will use will become the de facto standard. And the extensions that people use will start being pulled in, and people will use those and they'll be available. And I think that's how it's going to grow, is the traditional grassroots, bottom up, blah blah. But it's true. I mean, that is how real standards emerge.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about what this Apache Shindig thing is all about?
I'd love to. So when OpenSocial got started, it was Google, Ning, High5, Plaxo, LinkedIn, basically a bunch of corporate partners working together saying, hey, here's some interesting ideas about embedding applications everywhere. We should do it. And the idea was for it to be open and usable by anyone, anywhere. But right off the bat, it wasn't necessarily easy for people to do that. The APIs, what to implement was documented, but that's a fair amount of work, for a fairly significant programming team for at least a month or two to get something that can be launched, and that's going to be kind of scary level of code. So what Shindig is all about is reducing that. So we have the OpenSocial APIs. Well, here's a solid implementation. Here's a solid implementation you can download, you can run against locally, you can develop against locally. That at the same time, if you change the backend it's talking to, instead of running locally, you could run, all of what Ning's OpenSocial is using. I know there's some people talking about using it for all of what Orchid's OpenSocial is using, off of the same code base that you're able to directly develop against on your local machine. So you can hack sitting in a coffee shop on your OpenSocial application and then deploy it and trust that it's going to work because it's running in the same container across a majority of the partners. Frankly, competing on the implementation of an OpenSocial container, people don't care about that. People care about, enabling users. And if we're going to compete with each other on anything, it's going to be on the features that we offer to people and what we have there. And the space is huge.
Cool. So there's not going to be a BA WebLogic of OpenSocial containers.
I can't imagine there will be. But that's exactly the right analogy, though. Is I don't think anybody's going to make money selling OpenSocial containers. Tomcat, JBoss, all those basically prove that there's a better way to do that.
Cool.
So hey, off the bat.
Cool. So what's the technology behind Shindig?
Okay, so there's two sides of an OpenSocial container. There's what application developers primarily interact with, which is almost all JavaScript. And it exposes the OpenSocial APIs, interaction with the container provider, interaction with the backend, all via JavaScript. And so that's the first chunk, is that technology. And that in Shindig is going to be pretty much the same, hopefully, across all the backends available. Now the other side of OpenSocial is the server side provided by the container provider. This would be Ning or Orchid or MySpace, all basically providing some server side of what these JavaScript APIs do. And so in that one, the initial code right now is implemented in Java. It's a couple of Java servlets. At Ning here, we have an implementation in PHP that we're ripping the Ning specific stuff out of so that we can contribute it to Shindig. And the goal is that within Shindig, you can have Java, PHP, Perl, Ruby, Python, any particular server-side implementation, because it's not a complicated set of technologies. It's just basically an amount of work that has to be done approximately right to get security right. But once you have a design down, you can cover different languages so that you can embed it, in your WordPress blog. You can embed it in a JRoller blog. You can embed it in, your cool social networking startup that you're doing for dance instructors in Cleveland. Actually, you should run that on Ning. But if you're doing something like that you're not doing on Ning for some reason, you can do that, however you want. You just grab Shindig, and in half an hour, you're an OpenSocial container provider.
Cool. So do you see Shindig as a reference implementation that people maybe developer against? Or do you think that partners like yourselves would consider using this as your actual production app?
So when we initially proposed Shindig, the idea was to have a de facto reference implementation. It's like if everyone can develop against this and it's the easiest thing to do, it's going to really help compatibility across everything. Now, since we got this going, and Google has gotten on board with it in a really big and helpful way. There's actually been talk about making it an official reference implementation, so that, you know, if you want to implement something separate from Shindig because you know how to sell OpenSocial containers that'll make money and you can become the next BEA, then you can use that to ensure that your behavior is correct. I think the much more useful perspective as a reference, though, is just for the individual developer, so that you write this, you know flat out it's going to work on these different containers that use Shindig.
Cool.
It's easy to do.
Great. So to finish off, why should developers be excited about all of this social goodness that has been talked about for the last year or two?
Because everyone else in the world cares about it. Because the market is huge. You know, this is everyone in the world, well, not everyone in the world, everyone in the world with a reasonable internet connection, which is an awful lot of people at this point, getting into the web in a way that thus far only us geeks have gotten into the web. And so the market, the people that can use this, there's a lot of us, and we're going to keep going. And you can reach these people. You can reach these people running in, you know, work at Ning, anywhere. And that's fun.
Cool. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.